"Fine, I'll handle it." The words echoed through the Galactic Council chamber like a shockwave. Delegates from every corner of the galaxy sat in stunned silence. Some of their many eyes blinked in sync, others twitched their mandibles in shock. The council had gathered to discuss the human problem, an enigma that had puzzled, and to be blunt, terrified the galaxy for years. Humans were odd. They didn't possess the brute strength of the Truic, nor the advanced weaponry of the Zarthans. Their ships were decent, but by no means cutting edge. And yet, somehow, these strange beings from a little blue planet continued to survive, even thrive, in situations that no other species could. The Council had decided to address the escalation on the human frontier, a series of raids and skirmishes that had gone unresolved for the past few months. The combined forces of the Drax, Zarthans, and Truic empires had been poking, testing, and probing at human outposts, expecting an eventual retreat, some surrender, or at the very least a negotiation. But humans had never surrendered. A tall, thin alien with a gelatinous head, who called himself Envoy Frix, representative of the Unified Alliance, broke the silence. "Captain Lyons," he hissed, his voice a thin whisper that somehow carried to every corner of the chamber. "Your species has repeatedly refused assistance, diplomacy, or compliance with Galactic Council protocols. Our suggestion, a diplomatic withdrawal." Captain Elias Lyons, standing alone and unarmed in the center of the room, chuckled. The sound was unsettling, a human laugh, something rarely heard by any member of the council. He clasped his hands behind his back, his stance relaxed yet steady. "Listen, you can call it what you want," Lyons said, his voice steady. "But where I'm from, when someone doesn't respect our borders, we don't talk. We don't call for help. We handle it. So, I'll make this real simple. We're done negotiating. You think we're weak? Fine. I'll show you what weak really looks like." Before anyone could respond, Lyons turned on his heel and walked out of the council chamber, leaving a stunned silence behind him. The humans had refused any further communication with the council, and a simple message was transmitted back to their home systems: stand down or prepare for consequences. It was, of course, ignored. In the following weeks, the galaxy braced for what they assumed would be a small conflict, easily quashed by the combined forces of the most advanced empires in existence. After all, the humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and strategically vulnerable. But what began as a confident foray into human territory quickly turned into a nightmare. It started small. Dreek scout ships patrolling the outer rings of human territory disappeared. At first, the Dreek High Command dismissed it as minor sabotage, maybe an issue with communication relays. But then the missing ships began piling up, and every attempt to retrieve or even locate them was met with failure. Then came the Zarthans' turn. Their fleets, infamous for their precision and technological prowess, were shocked to find their weapon systems malfunctioning, as though invisible hands were tampering with their core functions. Ships that tried to engage were suddenly swallowed by enormous EMP blasts, rendering even the most advanced Zarthan destroyers powerless. The Truic, usually dismissive of tactics and preferring brute strength, sent wave after wave of soldiers, confident that their numbers alone would overpower the human forces. But for every Truic platoon that landed, there seemed to be a human sniper, or worse, a human commando, lying in wait, emerging from the shadows like ghosts. The humans struck with an unpredictable mix of technology and pure audacity. They adapted their tactics faster than any AI could calculate, leaving the aliens scrambling, forever one step behind. Where the Zarthans used calculated formations, humans deployed guerrilla warfare and ambushes in places no one thought possible. When the Dreeks attempted to blockade the human systems, humans found weak points in their lines and struck with surgical precision, disabling command ships and supply lines. Commander Rockvac, a Truic veteran of 100 battles, paced furiously in his command tent, slamming his armored fist against a holographic map. "How are they doing this?" he growled, his voice reverberating. The truant officers around him exchanged uneasy glances and used to seeing their leader display anything other than confidence. They had marched into battle with the intent of crushing the humans swiftly, an invasion that should have taken a matter of weeks. "We have reports that they're exploiting psychological warfare, sir," a younger officer muttered, avoiding eye contact. "They set traps. We find our men shaken. We don't know what they're seeing," Rockvac snarled. "They're just humans. We have 3 times their firepower, and yet they keep tearing through our lines." "Explain that to me." Silence filled the room. No one could explain it. No one understood why the humans, seemingly on the brink of exhaustion, kept coming, each move more unpredictable and relentless than the last. What little data they had suggested that humans thrived under conditions that would break other species. Limited resources, hostile terrain, a clear disadvantage in numbers and technology. None of it seemed to matter to them. The situation grew more desperate. The Galactic Council, watching from afar, scrambled to make sense of the reports pouring in. "Human assault squads are adapting to our tactics faster than anticipated," a Zern commander reported in frustration, his compound eyes flicking in agitation as he faced the council. Envoy Fricks, ever the pragmatist, rubbed his gelatinous head with a translucent appendage. "Then adjust your tactics," the Zarthan nearly hissed in response. "That's the problem," the Zern snapped. "They don't fight like us. Their methods are unpredictable, erratic, and disturbingly effective. Our AIs cannot predict their next moves." Envoy Frick sighed, trying to make sense of the situation. The council members exchanged anxious glances. The plan had been simple: engage the humans, push them back, and re-establish boundaries. But the humans had ignored every diplomatic attempt, avoided every ambush, and now, inexplicably, were closing in on core territories. Meanwhile, across the human front lines, word spread like wildfire. It wasn't just a battle, it was a declaration. A reminder. Captain Lyon's words had taken on a life of their own, repeated in hushed whispers and over encrypted calls. "Fine, I'll handle it." It had become more than a response. It was a mantra, a rallying cry for the humans. This wasn't just about holding ground. It was a matter of pride. And behind the scenes, strategists on Earth watched with quiet satisfaction, orchestrating countermeasures that left the alien forces in disarray on the ground. Every human soldier knew that there was no turning back. They fought like men possessed, their focus sharpened by the knowledge that the entire galaxy was watching. The Galactic Council scrambled to regain control, deploying more fleets, and even calling for additional mercenaries, the kind of forces they had never relied upon before. But with every new fleet sent to the front lines, the reports only grew more disturbing. Humans weren't merely fighting. They were adapting in real time, shifting tactics as effortlessly as a breeze changes direction.